I'm Buzz Knight, and I'm the host of the Taking a Walk podcast.
With Monterey Pop, I think it was just, John Phillips from the Moms and Pop is a good friend of mine, is a fellow folk singer.
I talk with industry insiders, authors, and musicians of all music genres, from new and up-and-comers to legendary Hall of Famers.
It cost me a gazillion dollars to have the Boston Pops practicing in the ballroom of the Four Seasons. It didn't matter. I beat Luther Vandross.
Listen to Taking a Walk on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Josh Arnold, investment consultant, brings you Garage Logic, episode number 1560, June 10th, 2025. 99 degrees on this day in 1956, 40 degrees on the morning of this day in 1877. Call Josh at 952-925-5608 for a free 48-minute consultation.
Hail the flashlight king.
Hail you! And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
Because I notice such things, either out of neurosis or pining for days of sanity.
B.
Yeah. I think it's B.
Well.
On this day in 1956, I just noted the high temperature was 99 degrees, and then I looked down the list. This starts 4 days in a row of the record high temperature being established in 1956, and I called John, who has this tremendous newspaper history file he can go to. Were we acting hysterically, John, in 1956?
We weren't. Before I say that, I would like to point out today is payday. I have to pay for newspapers.com today, so
okay.
It takes care
well,
of
we're getting our money's worth from
part
them.
of my budget.
Yeah.
June 11th, because it started on the 10th, you said, the
well, no,
thing.
Today is the 9th, isn't it?
No, today's the 10th. So...
Yeah. Today's the 10th.
Today's 10th. So I went to June 11th. This is the local paper said, yeah, it's going to be hot. And there's a cute picture of a baby pouring a cup of water over its head on Lake Calhoun.
Cute. Wonderful.
It just says, just how hot was it? 99 exclamation point.
Oh, boy.
And then there's a 7-paragraph story, basically, that is all forecast and what the whole region's going to get in terms of heat or not heat. So then I went to June 12th, same thing, front page, cooler air coming, but not today. And then a 7-paragraph story about the forecast, nothing, out of the ordinary. Then June 13th, a 7-paragraph story on page 1. None of these were headline stories. They were off to the right or left on the front page. This one just says heat wave continues into 4th day, and the story once again just read what the temperature is here, how it's going to be in the region, and when we can expect the air to cool off a bit. And that pretty much sums up everything I saw about the weather.
Isn't that wonderful? Wasn't that just a wonderful glimpse
How did we survive?
Of Americana, isn't it?
If I may, because I always have these weird things that I see in these papers, because in the old days, papers were a lot different than they are now.
Yeah, they had information.
On June 12th, down on the bottom of the front page, there was a photo of a man kneeling in tall grass beside a car.
Oh.
And it says roadside rights. There was a car accident, and a 21-year-old fellow had gotten killed. And I didn't notice at first till I read the caption. The photo, in the old days, you see all these old photos that are a little more graphic.
Oh,
than
much
now.
more graphic.
In the photo you see, and it notes it in the description, there's a pair of legs. Tangled pair of legs sticking out from under the car. The man deceased.
What's the name of the book, Joe?
Strange Days, Dangerous Nights.
Yeah. By
Speed Graphic era. It's a Larry Millett deal.
Larry Millett.
And it's not necessarily hyperbole that the photographers might have had some toys in the trunk, maybe a crushed tricycle or something. I mean,
Sure.
But it was terribly graphic in showing automobile accidents. You'd see the driver slumped over the wheel and the woman next to him bloodied, sprawled out on the front seat. It was, I'm not necessarily arguing that we should return to that, but they told it like it was, and there was no other source of that information.
Yeah.
But there was an example of 4 days in a row in 1956 when she was hotter than a biscuit. And it just
A pistol. Hotter
than a pistol.
Yeah.
And really all it meant was that people went to Lake Calhoun, which of course now is Bidet Magaska, and poured water over their heads. So thank you, John. I knew we would not find any hysteria.
Now, the money I'm paying today, because I just did that, I can use this as a tax write-off,
Absolutely.
correct? There you
Yes,
go.
please do that.
Absolutely.
How have you not subscribed to this website yet?
I tried it, and I had difficulty with it.
Oh.
So you can't try it. You only get one try.
Well, I just really, really struggle with some of the interwebs things.
Interwebs.
Yeah, I have a little difficulty
I think
with it.
that fee would be going down the rabbit hole, though. You would never get off that
It's
site.
tough to leave it after you're on it. Sometimes during the show, I've been on it when you guys may not have noticed. And I just keep reading newspapers from the 50s. You know.
Whatever the classified ads were in 1956, I could spend hours reading them
Yeah.
just to see the difference in today.
The classified ads.
Classifieds.
Oh, amazing. Just amazing.
My dad always read the paper from back to front.
Yeah. No, a lot of guys did.
Let me ask you this.
I wonder what the deal was there. Maybe he wanted to get to the classifieds first.
Well, everybody I know does the sports section first.
No, I don't do that. I'm page one to the end, but he would start at the back and start doing it this way.
That's a married forever question.
It is, dude. Yeah.
I start 4 stories on the front page and then go to the. I never finish a story front to back. I always start all of the stories on the front page and then go find the ends.
That's me, too.
It's so messed up.
A question. Why were the ads called classified? And what's the difference between want ads and classifieds?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because you're not classifying, you're telling them, hey, I got a boat for sale.
As recently as 2003, which to me doesn't seem that long ago. What is it, 22 years?
Yeah.
That just seems like yesterday to me. But as recently as 2003, I got a really neat motorcycle out of the want ads in that St. Paul paper, where there were columns and columns and columns of cars and motorcycles for sale, but that's all been taken away by Craigslist, right?
And Marketplace.
And Marketplace and what have you.
I have your answer, Rookie.
Yeah.
This is from Google AI. Classified ads and want ads are essentially the same thing. Classified ads is the more formal term, while want ads is a more informal and older way of referring to the same type of advertising. However, certain papers' classified advertisements are much cheaper than larger display advertisements used by businesses, which, although display advertising is more widespread, commonly used since 1763.
Wow.
That's fine, but it doesn't say why the word classified. What is classified implying, I think, is what Mr. Mikulski was after.
Within a publication, this allows readers to easily find specific items or opportunities that they might or might not be interested in.
I see.
Is that enough?
Sure.
Got it.
Emailer Kurt Marholz has really a great point, and I'm not being facetious. I think this is a great point. He notes that Trump regularly attends UFC fights, and crowds love him, and they cheer like crazy, and they hope Kid Rock is with them, and the whole deal. And the emailer's suggestion is that Trump personally attend one or two or as many as he wishes of future naturalization ceremonies to witness the crowning of new citizens. It would be showing support for legal immigration, and I just think the optic of that is fantastic. It would possibly inspire more people to pursue the legal road to naturalization, and it might quiet the left who despise him for what he's up to now. And I just think it would make wonderful video footage and photographs of the president. I don't think any president's ever done that. Not that I'm aware of.
Not that has been celebrated.
I agree with you and the emailer completely. Would he be welcome? Do you think he'd be welcome?
Well, sure. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be welcome at that. That would be neat. And it would put some money where his mouth is.
Yep. Well, for instance, if it took place here in the state of Minnesota, you know what I'm saying?
He would not be welcome anywhere in the state of Minnesota.
That's, I guess,
Yeah. So we have the ongoing developments in Los Angeles. I've noticed a lot of different flags flying held by the protesters. Mm-hmm. Mexican flags, Palestinian flags, Salvadoran flags. The prediction in various things that I've read, including including an NBC news story, is that this is the beginning of a summer of this, that this will be taking place in many. Well, you saw it pop up here a week ago today in Minneapolis, almost instantly.
I found myself on a conspiracy kind of website, shocking for me, I know. And it was saying that they're scheduled, mind you, for all over the United States.
New York, Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta,
definitely
and elsewhere, and here.
Yeah, and much bigger than what we saw over the weekend. And here's where the conspiracy part plays in, that somebody, we don't know who, is stocking these cities with bricks to throw at law enforcement.
Well, people. I spent a little time studying that.
Yeah.
To verify that, and yes,
it's true.
It's true that a pickup truck unloaded for protesters wrapped squares of concrete blocks.
Yeah.
Then another video the New York Post had showed a pickup truck with the guy standing in the bed, and he backed into an area where there were a group of protesters, and he was distributing tactical gear.
Oh, as a protest was happening?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, I did not know this. These demonstrations that are planned, they are planned for this coming Saturday, national demonstrations. Okay. And they're called No Kings demonstrations, which suggests that the object of the protest is Trump, that he's behaving like a king with his desire to remove illegals from the country. That's something apparently the protesters think a king would do. And I've had a lot of deep thoughts about this on the service road of life.
Okay.
And it might be premature to say it, but maybe not now that I know or am reading that these protests are anticipated to sweep the country, if not next Saturday, then possibly all summer. And what it suggests to me is the country's up for grabs. That's how it feels to me.
To whom?
Yeah. Expand on that, please.
The mystery, which in my estimation is the desire to bring about a different country than the one we know, has made significant inroads. And the behavior by Mysterians to wish to have anyone who wishes just live here because that's their end game, I believe. This plays well into the desires of the mystery. And then there's a certain segment of America, let's call it half of America, who want law and order and don't want people here illegally. And heads are about to be butted. So on one side, you've got Trump, who's portrayed as the evil king who is trying to bring about this law and order. Doing some things that are unprecedented, which only fuels the anger towards him. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the other side, which apparently is planning and organizing these protests in the hopes to win over the hearts of Americans, to make them realize that they're being ruled by a king, and a king should not be declaring any action that would remove people because it's too reflective of imperialism and capitalism. And that's what the mystery wishes to be undone. So here we have it in California. These are undeniably not peaceful protests.
Right.
These are the burning of police cars, for example. Just as an aside, given what California just went through in January, I'd really be careful of fires in California.
Yeah.
You know,
good point.
I'd get a fire truck on the scene
Good
instantly.
point.
You don't believe in Karen Bass to be able to help with the fires?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I'm just glad she's in L.A.
The law in many cases is considered what? A suggestion? You have to remember that part of the mystery is the dispute that there should be such a thing as authority.
Right.
That's part of the mystery, that there shouldn't be, thus the defund the police movement, for example, and the anti-police sentiment, that law and order should not exist because law and order is merely an affectation of capitalism and imperialism, although I don't happen to think of America as an imperialistic country. It's certainly a capitalistic country. That's frowned upon. The people, the dyed-in-the-wool activists who are professional activists, they don't. It's beyond not respecting the law. They don't believe that law should exist, and therefore it's not unusual to have these confrontations. Then you've got that compounded by cities like Los Angeles and Minneapolis declaring we're sanctuary cities. That means we have instructed our police departments they cannot work with immigration control enforcement. That's not allowed in Minneapolis and Los Angeles. The cops just had another document to that effect in Minneapolis yesterday. Don't contribute any help to ICE. I think Cockwomble is going to be testifying before Congress as some sanctuary state governors are being brought to Washington, D.C. and grilled about the efficacy of this taking place, that their states have become sanctuary states. So you've got a conflict right there. In fact, here it is right here. Walz will testify before Congress this week during a hearing on sanctuary states. He's going to be grilled apparently by Congressman Jim Jordan. I believe he's from Ohio. Yeah, he's a Republican Ohio.
Wrestling coach.
And he believes Walz's stance on illegal immigration is ridiculous. Not all Democrats are crazy, Jordan said, but the left that controls their party is, and they've got crazy policy after crazy policy, Jordan said, pointing to sanctuary laws as one example. So the hearing will be Thursday. Hearing with sanctuary state governors will examine how the state's policies shield criminal illegal aliens from federal immigration enforcement. Walz is scheduled to testify before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee alongside fellow Democrats J.B. Pritzker of Illinois and Kathy Hochul of New York. Although Minnesota has not formally declared itself a sanctuary state, certain cities and counties limit cooperation with immigration authorities, including Minneapolis and St. Paul. For example, Minneapolis police were just reminded that they are prohibited from involvement in any federal civil immigration enforcement activity. Additionally, the Minnesota Attorney General's office recently told Minnesota law enforcement agencies that they risk significant civil liability if they enforce immigration detainers. Walz himself has backed declaring Minnesota a sanctuary state in the past and has signed laws granting state benefits to illegal immigrants. For this reason, the Oversight Committee considers Minnesota a sanctuary jurisdiction. So there's a tremendous collision of laws here. I know states have their sovereignty, and I'm a believer in states' rights, but I'm over my depth in wondering why states can get away with ignoring federal immigration control enforcement. I guess they can, especially when you have the people in place that we have. So
can they, or is it not worth the fight from a federal level?
I don't know the answer to that. What we have here is my belief that because of all these different aspects of the law being regarded, I think the country's up for grabs. And maybe as soon as by the end of the summer, we'll know who won. Either it'll be the United States of the mystery, or it'll be the United States. Because I do believe that these are going to continue. I do believe these protests are going to continue.
Doesn't it seem like certain parts of the country have already been spoken for? Minnesota, California, Colorado. Mm-hmm. You say they're up for grabs. Well, maybe it's 45 states left up for grabs, or 40 states. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can throw in Illinois, right?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of states have already been compromised, and it's too late to go back.
State of Washington,
Oregon.
Thomas Sowell said something to the effect that if the law is merely considered to be a suggestion, then civility is negotiable.
Which is on full display right now. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So if the law is merely something that you would adhere to if you happen to agree with it, then this is a big problem, John, from top to bottom in this country. Yeah. And if the law is something you merely happen to agree with, well, then so is citizenship. So is nationality. So is a civil contract. That's all negotiable. And here are my terms if I'm a Mysterian, and then here are my terms if I'm Trump. And here are my terms if I'm Walz, and here are my terms if I'm Kathy Hochul. Well, there should be one set of terms, and historically there has been. It's a more complex problem, and I think people are willing to admit. I think it's rife with problems.
Would you consider it have we been gaslit? Is this gaslighting because it just made this general? It wasn't a cliff drop. It was a slow curve up, and now we're here.
Well, we saw it coming a long time ago, but the mystery has made its inroads. It's here. I think this, I don't want to say something ridiculous, but this could be the summer of the mystery. This could be the summer of the country's up for grabs.
Yeah.
This could be it. Because you got the right president in place, because he's so relatable to the mystery. He's what the mystery is against. And in fighting the mystery, which he doesn't know he's doing because he doesn't know what the mystery is, he'll bend every rule possible to fight the mystery. And so you've got a real mishmash here of just utter confusion and
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
If we weren't recording the podcast, would you have used the word mishmash?
No. No, I might have used a
much more aggressive term.
Creative.
A more aggressive term would be a good way to put it.
Just watching you try to figure out how am I supposed to explain this bleep show.
If you've got the desire for a motorcycle, pay attention. Saturday, June 14th, that's this Saturday. Get out to EcoFun Motorsports in Forest Lake / Columbus. It's just west of 35 on Highway 97. There will be a Aprilia Demo Day. Experience the thrill of riding the latest Aprilia motorcycles, and this is good whether you're a seasoned rider or just curious about these Italian sweethearts. This event is perfect for you. You can test drive your dream bike. Don't miss out on this opportunity to rev up your weekend. There's going to be food, beverages, cool rides. And the rides are on a first-come, first-served basis. And the test rides will leave on the hour from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And apparently that takes into account more than the big parking lot they have. Maybe you can just take off on one. And while you're there, of course, don't forget it's the electric bike capital of the world. It's got youth recreational equipment, scooters, water equipment, side-by-sides, helmets, apparel. It is really the most fun store you'll ever visit. But this Saturday, 10 a.m., June 14th at EcoFun in Forest Lake, it's the Aprilia Demo Tour. They've got a variety of motorcycles. They've got all kinds of scooters. They've got all electric bikes pre-tariff. It is really, really a great situation. Now, to ride, you're going to need your valid motorcycle endorsement. And you got to, no wheelie stoppies, burnouts.
Right.
Come on, these are new.
Let's
you break
go.
it, you buy it.
Yep.
And also there's EcoFun in Burnsville on the Service Road of Life near County Road 42. But check it out, ecofunmotorsports.com.
Reavers here once again for my guy, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Well, sometimes the anxiety from wondering if you've saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? Well, Mr. Money Talk is going to be able to sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk, never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute, no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608 and set up your free 48-minute, no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
In keeping with the 2025 celebration of cylinders here at Garage Logic, let's go to a cylinder party. You're all invited. Big party, July 12th. At Cedar Lake Speedway, just over the border there in Wisconsin. If you want my 2 cents, Cedar Lake Speedway, one of the best dirt tracks in the country. I've been to a few of them. That's just my opinion. The typical show on Saturday night consists of some of the greatest drivers in the Midwest making the long trek over to CLS. And we've seen some big-time NASCAR names show up there. Kenny Wallace, Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle, Sterling Marlin. Ryan Newman's going to be there in a couple weeks. Paul Menard's been there. That's why I'm very excited to announce a free for everyone, GLers, a big party at Cedar Lake Speedway. It's coming up on July 12th. We're going to start the day with a car show, British car show, running all afternoon. The mayor's promised to show up in one of his finely tuned and crafted British rocket ships. Right, Joe?
Yeah, somebody better bring cardboard. Put under it.
Now, there's been a number of requests from you and GLers wondering if they can take their cars around the track for a lap. I would not advise that before the show because they push a lot of water into the dirt during the afternoon, and you might not do that. However, at the end of the night, if you stick around till the end of the night, you do as many laps as you want. Then the track is hard packed. There's a bunch of rubber laid down, and you'd really enjoy yourself.
Dirt and water shall not touch my car.
Yeah, and that's the way a lot of guys are with show cars, trailer queens, or drivers. It doesn't matter. A lot of people feel that way. There's nothing worse than crawling under a car to wash it.
Yeah.
Anyway, after the show is over, stick around for the races. $25 savings per person. That's really good. Council members, you're going to get your own VIP area in the kind of the tailgate ramp area. That's going to be a lot of fun up in 3 or 4, turns 3 and 4. The entire show usually runs from 6 to 10 p.m. Please feel free to join us. July 12th, Cedar Lake Speedway. We're going to be talking about this more and more as the date rolls on. Meanwhile, go to their website. Check out everything they have to offer, cedarlakespeedway.com.
John Fetterman, of all souls, is speaking out against the riots in Los Angeles. He's a Democrat from Pennsylvania. He believes the Democrats have forfeited the moral high ground if they don't decry this violence. I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration, but this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement, Fetterman wrote. Okay, I agree.
I'll give him that.
That's fantastic. And there's not a doubt in my mind that what's taking place in Los Angeles is not peaceful. It is chaos. Now, there's all kinds of theories. Does Trump want the chaos, or does the left want the chaos? You know, Trump is the law and order president. But
how would it serve him?
The emperor has no clothes. He's pardoned criminals. He just pardoned these two frauds for their tax violations, these idiots that had the TV show. Come on. If you're going to be the law and order president, you got to represent law and order. Now that'll cost me Sanibel Jim, who I consider to be a friend, but he keeps threatening, I'm never listening to the show again because you're anti-Trump. It's not so much that I'm anti-Trump, it's I'm anti-hypocrisy. This is ridiculous.
But Newsom going out and saying this all started...
I'm not a Newsom fan either.
Right. But them blaming Trump is passing the buck. Isn't that basically what's happening?
How does this benefit either side? Let's start with President Trump. How would this benefit him?
I can tell you a conspiracy theory I keep reading, Kenny.
Yeah, do it.
I don't believe it, but they're saying it's a precursor or a practice run at being able to declare martial law when elections are coming up, so he can declare martial law when there's protests and there won't be any elections. That's the conspiracy theory I keep reading.
Oh, boy, I don't like that.
That's not a bad one.
I'm not going to buy that one.
Did you get it from Twitter?
I don't have Twitter, remember?
I'll give you what the left stands to gain. It seems to me that what the left stands to gain is the bringing about of the mystery. They don't want a country with borders. They don't want a nationalization. They don't want a uniform culture. They don't want law. The most strident among them want chaos because that's what they envision until they run out of other people's money.
Are we talking about the people financing this or the people on the street getting their hands dirty and their eyes blackened?
Both.
Huh.
I don't know how else you're supposed to think about this. What they're demanding in Los Angeles is hands off anybody.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then what? Then where's your country? This is the United States. It's not. You don't fly the Palestinian flag. You don't fly the Mexican flag. You don't fly the Salvadoran flag. And to introduce that is tantamount to telling me that Palestinians and Salvadorans and Mexicans, God bless them all, have as much right to live in the United States as anybody else. But to live on this physical plot of land that we call the United States, that was anyone should be allowed. Well, then you don't have a country. Okay, if you don't want to have a country, that's the mystery will win. We won't have a country.
Now imagine you did that. Let's just say you and your buddy or you and your family went to one of those other countries and started rattling off the list of demands that some of the people are doing in this country.
It's unthinkable.
Right.
I don't know anybody who would do that.
Well, because you wouldn't last very long.
Chief among the people I don't know who would do that would be the protesters at the forefront of the riots in Los Angeles. They're not going to take their concerns to another country and start telling that country what they want. It's this country they've decided it's evil. It's this country they've decided that it's wrong. It's this country they've decided is too unfair. And if we throw enough bricks and burn enough cop cars, maybe we'll win.
Because we can get away with it here because of this thing called freedom.
And it's just so damn difficult because the guy in charge is a really difficult guy to take seriously as being out front of law and order. It's just a conundrum. It's called a conundrum. But I do think that, and this is NBC, this isn't some right-wing blog, NBC is really hitting hard the idea that this is going to be taking place all across the country. Who wrote it? Do we have an author? Patrick Smith. I don't know who Patrick Smith is, but it's an NBC piece. It's entitled Anti-ICE Protests Held Coast to Coast After L.A. Unrest as National Movement Grows. Activists plan more events. The events are designed to what? To drive home the point that there shouldn't be such a thing as immigration control enforcement. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what these protests are about. There should not be enforcement of immigration laws. Can anyone contradict that?
That's the message I'm getting.
We should not have immigration laws. Now, and then Biden gets accused for letting in the millions that he did. He also was deporting people. And to further confuse you, there's a piece in the Wall Street Journal. Not exactly the New York Times.
Who was he deporting?
That the Trump people looked at the numbers and realized Biden was deporting more illegals in a given time period than Trump has since he got elected. So Trump freaked out and said, crack down. Let's deport more. I got to get my numbers to where Biden's numbers are. You can look that up, please, John. Biden deportation numbers versus Trump deportation numbers.
I will do that. I already looked up Biden administration deportations and repatriations. Hit nearly 4.5 million as of his last year in office. But let me check the Trump versus Biden numbers.
And the Trumpster got wind of that, and he said, we're not getting rid of enough. I ain't even where Biden was.
Right. Speed it up, boy.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Thus, L.A. and the presence of the Guard and now the Marines coming in. The Marines will be happy to be in L.A. You know, they gives them a little break from their drudgery.
Right.
What do you think the percentage would be if you were to just say poll the average tax-paying citizen of that area? You know, Gavin, where are you for those people that are actually helping you stay in power?
No, this is a professional activist class who has gravitated towards politics. We've had this soliloquy. We've had this discussion at the University of Garage Logic. It's the American citizen and the parties themselves failing to produce good candidates, number one. And two, the American citizen having just out of extraordinary apathy, just having washed their hands of politics. That's why we're stuck with who we're stuck with on school boards in the Twin Cities and on city councils in the Twin Cities and for mayors in the Twin Cities. We're stuck with the wrong people.
Yep.
The newest numbers I'm finding, Joe, came in a story from 6 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. The Trump administration is on track to deport about 500,000 people, 500,000 people this year. The last year of Joe Biden's presidency, they deported 685,000.
Okay, so we got to find 185,000 to tie Uncle Joe.
Okay,
you know. All right, that's.
Can I ask a question? Because I know how much we love doing math. John, does that take into account how many people were let in that same time? Do you know what I'm saying? The attrition value of that number?
I don't. That's not in here.
Got it.
Can I bring it back local for a moment? Minneapolis and St. Paul public schools will be reviewing their budgets tonight. This is not necessarily unrelated to what we're talking about. It's related to how we're governed.
Got it.
And the state has reached a budget agreement, by the way. We will not be paying for the adult Minnesota care for illegals. That passed. A lot of Democrats were crying about that.
Just the kids.
Just the kids. Now that the legislature, this is 5 Eyewitness News. Now that the state legislature has a budget deal in place, some of Minnesota's largest school districts can now make final decisions about their budgets, which could impact your kids' education. As reported by 5 Eyewitness News last night, a $66 billion two-year state budget has finally been set. That's only 3 weeks after when it was supposed to have happened. But remember, the Dems took a month off when the session started. Yeah. Members of both Minneapolis and St. Paul Public Schools, as well as others across Minnesota, will be taking a look at their numbers to understand what the finalized state budget deal means for them. On Tuesday night, new details, that's tonight, about the updated budget plans for next school year are expected in both Minneapolis and St. Paul. In Minneapolis, Super, Dr. Lisa Sales-Adams has previously said the district may have to make fewer cuts than originally expected to close a $75 million budget shortfall. In St. Paul, the district is considering cuts to early childhood education programming and family resources as it works to close a $50 million shortfall. I submit to you that responsible, competent adults serving on school boards wouldn't have a $75 million budget shortfall in Minneapolis, nor would you have a $50 million budget in shortfall. But you don't have competent adults. You have adults, but they are professional activists, including the unacceptable, what's her name, who is a race baiter. Help me with her name.
We need to write that down. We all know who you mean, though.
Yeah.
The Japanese restaurant gal.
Yeah. Who's now running for the Ward 4 council seat. These are professional idiots. She is an idiot. She is going to solve she's on the school board. She's going to solve a $50 million shortfall.
Is it Mitra Jalali?
No. She's Ward 4 was Mitra Jalali. Mitra Jalali has left.
That's right.
And now 4 people want the seat, only one of whom is deserving of it. You know who I mean. But you guys are so bleeping slow that it's unbelievable.
Chantel Allen.
Thank you.
I was working on another story.
Yeah,
I had to look
Chantel.
Sick brag, John.
My point being, you look at the school board members in Minneapolis and St. Paul, maybe decent people, not Chantel Allen, but they have no business handling this kind of money. They have no experience. They have no expertise. They have nothing. They're just professional activists. And the apathetic citizenry has turned school boards over to them, and no one who should run bothers to even run. So there's your $75 million shortfall in Minneapolis and a $50 million shortfall in St. Paul. Now extrapolate and go back to national. Look at who governs us. It's incredible. We're so far away from being governed by sanity.
How far away from being
on either side of the aisle? It's just incredible. We're governed by 10% of the lunatics on the left and 10% of the lunatics on the right. And there's 80% of us yawn and say, I don't know who to vote for. I don't care. Well, then we're getting what we deserve. And the time is growing short. The country, in my estimation, is up for grabs. It's up for grabs. I don't know who's going to win.
That's going to be...
And maybe people said this 75 years ago, but I doubt it.
Right. Chantel Allen.
Chantel Allen's a dreadful situation that you have somebody like this incompetent buffoon is on the school board and now wants to parlay that into a city council seat. And if you people who live in the Matt Groveland area and Miriam Park and Summit, Hamlin Summit, if you vote for her, you deserve everything you get. And you think it's fine until you are completely broke. Then it won't be fine. Where are we? Look
need
at
one of
the
these.
clock. What do you need?
I need you to do an ad, sir.
Oh, let me look at something.
Whatever
here.
you're in the mood for.
Yeah, well, I'm in the mood for love.
Simply because you're
Near me. Well, I had these all laid out for myself, and
And then you got all worked up
wonder
talking
where
about
they
school
are.
boards.
Okay, if you need a new garage door, consider Precision Door MN. Not only do they service your existing garage door, and they do it promptly and efficiently and let you know when they're on their way and all that good stuff, but they also do new garage doors, Precision Door MN, serving western Wisconsin and the entire metro. They don't charge more for those emergency weekend visits either. But if you need a new door, they have models for every budget. They send out somebody that actually knows what they're doing, and you talk about it, you pick the door, and boom, better security, better aesthetics, better insulation. And if you get a new door now, Precision Door is throwing in the opener. That's a value of more than $760. It's really a good time to consider that. You don't want to put a new door in when it's 20 below.
No.
Might as well do it when
Pick
the
your
weather's
spots,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah. You can book online for a new garage door appointment or a regular service appointment. You can book online at precisiondoormn.com. That's one word, Precision Door MN, or call Precision Door at 612-263-6985. This is Patrick Ricey for The Canopy Group. As you set out to explore Minnesota this summer, just know this. There are 234 cities in Minnesota with populations over 2,500. The Canopy Group has customers in all but 7 of those. Why is this fact important? Because the Canopy Group's experience in these Minnesota cities gives them a unique edge in providing you the comprehensive home and auto insurance options you want. Remember, the Canopy Group offers 16 insurance companies for a reason, to help match your specific situations, including your zip code, with an insurance company that meets your needs. This is done for you every year because your specific situation may change. It is also true that the insurance company's appetites that you're with now might change as well. The experience working throughout Minnesota provides thousands of Canopy Group customers with peace of mind, knowing that the Canopy Group is working for you. To learn more, visit thecanopygroup.com today.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Joe, what was the adage? And it might be the first one you coined. Any problem worth figuring out is worth figuring out in the garage.
You got it.
Is that it?
Yep.
Well, that's what GLer Tim did when he moved to the lake, discovered he had a weed issue. And, of course, being a GLer, he went to the garage and figured it out. He came out of there with a brand new tool for pulling lake weeds from the shore. He calls it the T weeder.
This thing is cool. I've seen the video. I'm looking at the video.
Yeah, big T, a big rake type of device made of lightweight aluminum. It utilizes a 3-foot wide plate with offset teeth, and those teeth grab and uproot or tear off underwater aquatic weaves. Now, it comes with a 25-foot rope. You throw it out there, you let it sink, and then you tug it in. Several quick tugs, and it comes up pulling weeds in its path. You throw those weeds on your shore, you let them dry out a day or two, and you burn them up. Or we discovered you can also let them dry out, put them on your garden, and it makes great fertilizer. Really easy for one person to do. And here's what I would do. I would do it in front of the kids and then let them fight over who's going to do it.
One
and
caveat.
it works great. Yeah. Go ahead.
One major caveat.
What's that, Matt?
Remember to tie the rope to your hand. Don't just throw the rake out there.
Or you'll be going to teamleadertool.com again.
It comes with a loop that you put around your wrist. I'm glad you brought that up. This thing isn't a cutter. It doesn't cut weeds. It pulls them up, and the DNR allows that up to 2,500 square feet without a permit. This thing is amazing, and you'll really love what it does to your. It'll change the whole look of your shore there at your place, get to the website, check it out, and then order yourself one. That website is T-Weeder. Wait a minute, where'd it go? TWeederTool.com. TWeederTool.com.
Here's John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. This news brought to you by North American Banking Company. Before we get to news, let me clear up a couple things we talked about. Chris, you asked about the number of people coming in concerning...
Yes, sir.
Border encounters with the Trump administration are down, and the experts assume that's because people aren't trying to sneak in because they know there'd be an issue.
Sure.
If they did. The detained population is up about 10,000 since the last Biden year as far as people being detained. So most of those in country, it sounds like, who are detained. And then Trump's, I did not realize this, Trump's first term, his deportations actually were below Barack Obama's. Number of deportations.
All right.
So that's what's going on there. Then you talked about naturalization ceremonies, how a good optic for Trump would be to show up at one.
Yep.
Well, apparently he and several past few presidents have attended ceremonies.
Wonderful.
George W. Bush attended a ceremony at the Daughters of American Revolutionary headquarters in 2006. Barack Obama delivered remarks at naturalization ceremonies, including one at the National Archives. Donald Trump participated in a naturalization ceremony at the White House. Joe Biden attended a naturalization ceremony. And even Bill Clinton, after his presidency, spoke at a naturalization ceremony.
Bill was scouting the talent, though.
I was looking for some good talent. I was trying to go south of the border.
In news now, did I already say North American Banking Company sponsors this news? I think I did, but I just want to make sure. Thank you, North American Banking Company. The Minnesota legislature wrapped up their special session with a $66 billion two-year state budget. As you talked about, Joe, the most contentious issue ended up being one that was not critical of balancing the budget. The House and Senate both approving a bill to deny adult undocumented immigrants access to the state's public health insurance program. Protesters lying on the floor outside the House chambers yelled, "Immigrants need health care too, DFL, shame on you." They objected to House and Senate DFL lawmakers agreeing to the immigrant health insurance bill in a budget deal with Republicans. The House Republican author of the bill defended the legislation. That's Jeff Backer, a Republican from Browns Valley. He said what this bill does is limits Minnesota care coverage for undocumented non-citizens. It's about being fiscally responsible. Democrats point out the adults will still be able to get health care, but now it'll be in emergency rooms where they will show up for health care that is much more expensive. The legislation will still allow the children of undocumented immigrants to enroll in Minnesota care. The bill passed the House on a vote of 68 to 65. DFL House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman casting the decisive 68th vote. In the Senate, the bill passed 37-30 with a few Democrats voting in favor, including Senate Majority Leader Aaron Murphy. Murphy said she only voted for it to keep her word on a budget compromise with the House and Governor Walz. She said, in order to fund the government, we struck a deal and I gave my word, but I do not support this proposal. The bill is now headed to the governor, who has pledged to sign it. He also says he opposes it, but will still sign it.
Joe, before I play that other clip, I forgot to mention that I have another one. This is Democratic Representative Lish, Liish, Lish Kozlowski, talking about the debate for illegal immigrants and health care.
So, cutting off this health care will harm entire family systems. It will deepen racial disparities, and it will risk the well-being of all of our communities. As an Indigenous person from the northern Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Canadian border to the southern borders as a Mexican-American, our communities, we didn't cross these borders of Turtle Island. The governments have crossed us. And as I'm standing in these chambers and we're here again having battles over who's worthy and who's not, we're standing on the stolen land and the halls of power that were built on stolen labor, in which no one can be illegal on stolen land.
Yeah,
but I
don't want to hear anymore. We also had Keoli Vang Her give remarks yesterday. She's a Minnesota state rep of Hmong heritage, and she had this to say.
And I've been spending a lot of time with my father, who brought us all to this country at the end of the Vietnam War. And I asked my father about how we came to the United States. We had missed our time to come to the U.S. 3 times, and if we didn't come that last time, we would not have been able to come to the U.S. We did not have our names on that list to come to the U.S. My father, as the one processing the paperwork, put my grandmother down as his mother. And so I am illegal in this country. My parents are illegal here in this country.
Okay.
And then Trump grabbed her right away. ICE grabbed her.
No, she's a citizen.
Yeah, she is legal.
She has
now.
become a citizen.
Okay.
She came here illegally.
Yeah.
And her and her whole family, apparently, for 40 years have been citizens.
Right.
Now that the state legislature has a budget deal in place, some of Minnesota's largest school districts say they can now make final decisions about their budgets. Members of both Minneapolis and St. Paul Public Schools, as well as others across Minnesota, will be taking a look at their numbers to understand what the finalized budget means for them. Tonight, new details about the updated budget plans for next school year are expected in both Minneapolis and St. Paul. In Minneapolis, Superintendent Dr. Lisa Sales-Adams, as you've heard, has previously said the district may have to make fewer cuts than originally expected to close a $75 million budget shortfall.
Where have they ever had to demonstrate responsibility in their lives? I'm talking about the school board members. Do your own homework. Look them up. They're not... They might really be good employees of, say, a pet food warehouse or something, but where do they have no business operating a budgets of this size. They have no idea.
Meanwhile, in St. Paul, the district is considering cuts to early childhood education programming and family resources as it works to close about a $50 million shortfall. School leaders there have proposed using reserve funds to cover a big part of that shortfall, but have said cuts will have to make up the rest.
To rest my case, why is there always a shortfall? If you were responsibly budgeting, there wouldn't be these continual shortfalls. Thank you.
Got it.
In several motions filed, former GOP State Senator Justin Eichhorn has asked a federal judge to dismiss an indictment against him for attempting to entice a minor. Eichhorn was arrested and charged federally as part of an undercover child prostitution sting. He resigned on March 20th, just before the Senate was poised to vote on his expulsion. His motion states the decision to federally charge Eichhorn was vindictively motivated by personal animus against him due to his position as an elected official. Eichhorn and 13 others arrested in a sex sting in Bloomington in March. Charges were referred to the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. State charges against Eichhorn and a few other men from the Bloomington sting were dismissed when they were federally indicted. The motion points to a similar sex sting in Washington County a few days after the Bloomington sting and says that none of the Washington County defendants have been charged in federal court. The document also claims Eichhorn would have likely gotten probation for his Hennepin County charge due to his lack of a record. After Eichhorn was federally indicted, the U.S. Attorney's Office stated in a news release it, quote, has no tolerance for public officials who violate federal law, particularly those laws meant to protect children. And days after a federal raid in South Minneapolis drew protests and intense scrutiny, Assistant Police Chief Katie Blackwell sent a department-wide memo emphasizing they are not allowed to assist with immigration enforcement. The email was sent to sworn and civilian staff Friday afternoon, 3 days after 2 armored vehicles and federal officers rolled through the streets of South Minneapolis to serve a search warrant in connection with what federal officials called a transnational criminal organization suspected of drug and human trafficking and money laundering. The federal search was carried out by members of the FBI, Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, Tobacco, and Explosives, Department of Homeland Security, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It was one of 8 carried out Tuesday in the Twin Cities. Local and county officials said the raid was not immigration enforcement and that police officers were only acting as a barrier to separate protesters and federal officers.
But boy, did they materialize quickly.
Yeah. So that come on downtown and see what all the fuss is about this weekend. That should be fun.
Be good.
It'll be fun.
I know we take a quick break here and hear from Christopher.
John, let's talk about our friends at We Are Nuts. A brand new partner here with the Garage Logic podcast, Joe. I know you are a fan of We Are Nuts, as the entire staff.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah,
Good
I forgot
stuff.
to bring in...
Hey, let's quit forgetting.
I got to bring that in here. Sorry about that. Here's the deal. We Are Nuts has been based here in Minneapolis since 1987, and they have been the ultimate craft roaster of prized, handmade, and small batch nuts, trail mixes, nut butters, caramel corns, and candies.
I like a small batch group of nuts.
Pretty good.
Yep.
The toffee roasted peanuts are quickly becoming my favorite. The owners, the Burt boys, we got Dad Jim. He's known as Mr. Big Nuts, and his three sons, Michael, Tommy, and Jimmy. They fresh roast and handmade small batches daily right there in Northeast Minneapolis, and they source only the highest quality nuts from the very best farms from all over the world, and as always, innovating through their small batch creations, finding new flavor combinations that make each bite unique and memorable. So check out all of their products, whether it's the toffee nuts like I just mentioned, the snack mixes, the hokey pokey caramel corn, the jumbo cashews that are basically the size of shrimp.
I like a big cashew.
They're pretty good. And also the fancy deluxe mixed nuts and chocolate covered almonds. Check them out online today. It's wearenutsmn.com or go into your local Fratelloni's. They carry all lines of We Are Nuts. Soon to have their big end caps, too, by the way. More news on that coming up shortly. But visit their website, wearenutsmn.com, and place your order today and let them know that you heard about them on the Garage Logic podcast.
This guy wears many hats, just not indoors. Joe Souchere.
Say in these strange times, it's great to have a lawyer as your guy. That's Bradshaw and Bryant, personal injury attorneys. If you're like me and other people, you may not know what to do if you're ever injured in an accident because you're a little rattled. You wonder what happened. Yep. Insurance companies and adjusters can be tough to deal with, so you need a guy. Mike Bryant from Bradshaw and Bryant and his team are there to explain your rights, represent you, and help you in a tough time. For 6 consecutive years, Mike has been recognized as a super lawyer, and he's been named among Minnesota's top 40 personal injury lawyers by Minnesota Law and Politics, which is the Bible for such things. Bradshaw and Bryant hopes you're never in an accident. If you are, call them. Call Bradshaw and Bryant at 800-770-7008 or go to minnesotapersonalinjury.com. Your case evaluation, of course, is free. And Bradshaw and Bryant does not want you to be part of the problem. Don't text and drive or drive distracted. That's just common sense from Bradshaw and Bryant.
Thank you, Joe. In national and international news, the Pentagon deployed 700 Marines and an additional 2,000 National Guard troops to L.A. yesterday. Tensions between the federal government and California escalating over the immigration-related protests and clashes in the city. The action marks a rare domestic deployment of Marines, brings the total Guard troops to 4,000, although some people are saying that second 2,000 number may just be part of the original 2,000. Demonstrations continued for a fourth day yesterday over immigration arrests.
The word unprecedented is being used by the likes of Newsom and Karen Bass. And didn't Bush do the same thing in, was it 92? Didn't he deploy the National Guard?
I think the state did, right? He went and asked the state. In other words,
States
Trump didn't
normally
ask the state.
deploy National Guards.
Got it. Okay, that's why I was just asking it for fact base. So I was just curious.
A Republican Florida state senator who co-founded the group Latinos for Trump is condemning and distancing herself from President Trump's immigration policies, calling them unacceptable and inhumane. Senator Ileana Garcia said in a statement, "This is not what we voted for. I've always supported Trump through thick and thin. However, this is unacceptable and inhumane."
Well, she ain't getting invited back to Mar-a-Lago.
Garcia, whose district of Miami-Dade County is overwhelmingly Hispanic or Latino, voted for Trump during the last election, said she sides with his efforts to target immigrants who are criminals, but said his targeting of those seeking lawful citizenship is unjust. In a move being criticized by the medical and health community, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said he's removing every member of the independent panel advising the CDC on vaccines. In the Wall Street Journal op-ed released yesterday, Kennedy said the move was necessary to restore faith in vaccines. The panelists are not political appointees. The ACIP meets 3 times a year to review data on vaccines and recommend how they should be used. It's comprised of independent medical and public health experts who do not work for CDC. Kennedy had promised Congress during hearings the panel would be left alone. Not the first thing he told Congress and did the opposite of. Bruce A. Scott, president of the American Medical Association, said ACIP has been a trusted source for vaccine guidance for generations. I've sworn off talking music news with you goofballs, but got to talk about Sly Stone.
Yeah, I have some comments about him. I bet you'll enjoy them, too. Go ahead, John.
Well, in my opinion...
Are we talking music?
Arguably, but not really. He is one of the top 5 individuals when it comes to influence in the pop rock world.
Not only was I going to say that, but I would have said...
I thought you were going to argue with me.
Oh, God, no. I just loved him. I'm married to a woman who has danced with him. How do you like that?
Yeah. Really?
By dancing, what exactly do you mean?
I mean dancing.
The whole band?
We're not talking Simon and Garfunkel.
Sorry, I couldn't.
What I would say, John, is that if he had avoided the drugs and had a complete career, I think that a Prince would just be a wannabe.
Well, pretty much. Okay, here I'll show you what I wrote. How's that?
All right.
That was too far.
Pretty much every funk and R&B record since 1968 owes a debt to Sly and the Family Stone. Music could be dance anthems, political documents, or both. And revolutionary for the day, the band was mixed race.
Yep.
That caused them some issues with audience members and with the Black Panther Party.
Black Panthers wanted him to get rid of all the white band members.
Yep. From the Motown move toward psychedelic funk to R&B in the 70s and 80s to jazz, where both Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock talked freely about his influence. In fact, Herbie wrote a song named after him. All the way to the Twin Cities, where Prince's funk was pretty much built on Sly's template. The influence of the band cannot be overstated. Unfortunately, Sly's drug use and mercurial personality meant his hit-making days ended by the mid-'70s. Recent years saw some interesting turns, though, including a Sly memoir named after one of the band's biggest hits, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, and a Questlove-produced and directed documentary called Sly Lives, a.k.a. The Burden of Black Genius. That's a must-watch if you have any interest at all in rock, pop, or funk music. Given his drug use and odd living habits, like living in a motorhome, it's highly unlikely that Sly would have lived to the ripe old age of 82, but he did. The cause of death, prolonged battle with COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and other underlying health issues, according to a representative.
As long as you said that his template is what Prince based his music on, I'll accept that.
The funk, definitely. I mean,
he was the best. There's just not a doubt about it.
Yeah.
God, he was good.
Can I admit something very, very briefly? This broke yesterday because Mike and I had to record our show yesterday afternoon after Monday Night Sports Talk. And when that broke, I saw it and went, oh, no. And I thought it was Sly Stallone.
No, it's
I'm never speaking to you again.
I was talking to Mike and I saw the headline as I looked at it and I went,
this is why I don't talk music on the show normally.
But
stuff
I
like
love
that.
Sly Stone. Don't get me wrong, but I do.
His name was Sylvester Stewart.
Yeah, and
from Texas.
He was called Sly.
Some kid in school got it wrong.
Yeah, kid spelled it wrong and spelled it Sly instead of Sill. So, anyway, Sly was 82 and top 5 influence in the history of music.
Well, that makes me wonder.
I'd say top 2.
Wow.
Top 2? Jeez.
Behind the Beatles?
I'm going to go with number 1.
Yeah, maybe he's the best.
Yeah, number 1.
I'm going Beatles, Stones, Dylan.
Oh, I thought you were just
Sly.
talking. I thought you were just talking funk.
No, I said influence in pop rock. Period.
Oh, I'll go top 5. Yeah, perfect.
Easily.
And just so we know, Sylvester Stallone is 78 right now.
I'm moving along now because this is why I don't talk music. At the airport.
You're right.
Chris and Matthew, your microphone privileges should be revoked. We should take away your microphones.
Where would you put them?
I can tell you where they go.
Sorry, Kenny. Stepped all over your great line there. At the airport. You close your phone's second low battery charge now prompt and finally give in. You grab your charging cable and plug into a public USB port in the departure lounge. Well, according to the TSA, you may have just made a costly error. This morning, the Transportation Security Administration issued a warning about a cyber attack technique known as juice jacking ahead of the peak summer travel season. Hackers can install malware at USB ports. The TSA post says Juice jacking is where hackers manipulate public charging stations with hidden devices and steal your data or install malware on your device when you use a USB charging cable to plug directly in. That can happen at airports, hotels, malls, or even public transit hubs, anywhere a USB port is available. And once your device is compromised, the attackers might be able to get your banking and payment apps, install spyware, control or wipe your device remotely, steal pictures, contacts, or two-factor authentication codes. Cybersecurity experts also warn against using public charging cables, which can be planted or altered to carry malware. The solution, they say, is simple. The TSA says just bring your TSA-compliant power brick or battery pack and plug in. Outlets can't be manipulated in the same way, and that would keep your device safe.
I'll be damned. Thank you, John.
I haven't been briefed on that, so I won't speak to that. But I will speak to, I do think one funny shenanigan at the airport is priceless. And it's whoever the guy that has the outlet sticker, and he just puts it on the wall, and the wall is completely hacked up because people are trying to put the plug in there. And it's just a picture. I don't know who does it, but I've seen it a couple times. It's hilarious.
Let's talk about our friends at Hofferman Water and Connecticut, shall we?
Yeah.
Hofferman Water and Connecticut are going to give you the best quality water that money has to offer. And here's the deal. You need to get on the schedule first, and you got to have them come out, and they're going to give you this free water analysis, which is fantastic. And then when they come give you that free water analysis, they're going to give you this thing called a water score. And based upon that water score, they're going to give you recommendations on water treatment systems that's going to make an amazing difference in the quality of your water. And it doesn't matter if you're in the market for a brand new water softener, maybe an iron, rust, and odor filtration system, or a brand new drinking water system. A new system from Connecticut can do so many things that other water softeners just simply cannot do. It's going to cut down on your salt usage, and it's also going to protect your appliances. And that's because bad water can affect almost every aspect of your home. So get on the schedule today. You can do that one of two ways. It's 612-895-2440, or visit their website at HoffermanWater.com. Either way, you can get on that schedule. And if you go to the website, by the way, you can see every single water treatment system that they have to offer. So let Hofferman Water and Connecticut make an amazing difference in the quality of your water like they have done for me. Hofferman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Please do me a favor and mention to them that you heard about them right here on the Garage Logic Podcast.
You cannot stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Souchere.
Tip of the cap to a guy named Bob Cantenack. Does that name ring a bell?
Bob Cantenack.
No.
He got himself in the news over the last 2 years, a Summit Avenue resident who was contesting the plans to turn Summit Avenue into bicycle lanes, and he kept asking the St. Paul City Planning Office to let him have a look at the plans, which were public records, and they never produced them for him. And he spent a lot of time trying to get those records, and now the city has been ordered to pay him more than $30,000 for violating Minnesota's open records law, which is a really a ray of hope in this day and age. He said they had no interest in giving me the documents before the city council voted. That was as clear as day, said Cantenack. He's an attorney by trade. It took 2 years of my life and hundreds of hours just to get them to give me simple documents. It isn't like they had to work hard to find these. Those documents were hiding in plain sight. And the court agreed. A Ramsey County District Court judge, I wish I knew who, it doesn't say. A Ramsey County District Court judge ruled St. Paul took too long to fully release public records that Cantenack had a right to receive. The judge cited 14 state law violations.
Ooh.
Then, in a possibly unprecedented order, a judge said the city must pay Cantenack $30,000 in damages plus $750 for costs incurred in the legal process. This is an extraordinary ruling, Cantenack said. And then the story, I think I'm reading a channel of a 5 Eyewitness News piece. It's a Renee Cooper piece from 5 Eyewitness News. And then a University of Minnesota ethics and law professor, Jane Kirtley, weighed in saying this is rare. It's a win for the public. In my experience, most judges will hesitate to award damages except in cases where they believe that the government acted in a truly inappropriate and egregious manner, where they essentially violated the law. 5 Eyewitness News has asked the city to respond to the ruling, first requesting an interview with the city clerk, who is in charge of handling public data requests. We were told she's on medical leave. So we requested an alternative. After several more follow-ups, including asking directly in an email, the city has not answered our questions. So far as I know, the city of St. Paul has not changed how it does business, Katnack said. But right now you have a system that's completely out of balance. The government holds all the cards. Nobody's got the time or money to pursue this like I did, he said. And this Kirtley from the U of M said, this is tremendously important. If you have any doubt or suspicion about how your tax dollars are being spent, this is the key that the legislature has given you to unlock the door and to find out what the government is up to. And I think we all have a stake in that, and we ought to be interested, and I would even say excited, to find out that the courts will hold the governments accountable. This is fantastic. Mm-hmm. This is really a big deal.
This sounds like it started out as one thing and ended up about something entirely different.
No, it was always him trying to get the records that the city had for the bike paths on Summit.
Because he wanted to stop the bike paths on Summit.
Yeah, because he lives on Summit and he wanted to know, what are you up to?
Meanwhile, years later, he won the case, but where are we with the bike paths on Summit?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up, and I'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
Because I believe their motivation was, we don't care what the cost is. We're not giving this to this guy because we are putting bike paths on Summit. Public be damned.
Well, that's his contention.
So they achieved their goal.
Katnack said he's expecting the city will appeal, and he welcomes that. Because if the Minnesota Court of Appeals affirms this ruling, it could set stricter standards in favor of those seeking government records. So let's do some more homework and find out. Let's have Katnack on. I'll try and reach him. Because... he admits it. He had the time and the money to do this. Who else can do this?
Right. Yeah, that's just it.
Only because they come to us all the way from Eden Prairie, the temporary home of the traveling Lymans. It was on this day. On this day. What are you doing? I don't have time for that.
I had my mic privileges revoked.
Well, just turn it back on. It was on this day.
June 10th.
1864. At Bryce's Crossroads in Mississippi, Confederate forces led by Nathan Bedford Forrest captured 233 soldiers from the 9th Minnesota Regiment. The captives were sent to Andersonville Prison in Georgia, where 119 of those Minnesotans died. So don't tell me about your bleeping reparations. On this day,
June 10th,
in 1902, why does Faribault always get in this thing?
We're a big deal, Joe.
Faribault's first passenger train arrived.
Oh, at the depot, I bet.
There wasn't anybody on it, but it arrived. No, I don't. It doesn't say that.
Gotcha.
On this day...
You ever been to the depot in Faribault?
No, on this day...
On June 10th.
In 1922, who was born in Grand Rapids?
What year, sorry?
Francis Gumm. Who was Francis Gumm?
Judy Garland.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
Judy Garland was born in Grand Rapids. She died in London on June 23, 1969. And on this day in sports disappointment history...
On June 10th.
In 1961, the Twins played the first ever nationally televised game.
Wow.
Can that be right? Weren't the World Series games nationally televised prior to 1961?
Maybe first regular season.
Maybe that's it. And they lost. That's why it's a disappointment. They lost 4-3 to the Orioles.
First nationally. John's all over it. I'm going to let
On
John.
this day,
June 10th.
in 2017, former NLL, what's that?
National Lacrosse
Franchise wins championship. The Georgia Swam. What? And they left. I don't know what that is.
I wonder
Forget it.
if Judy Garland, Frances Gumm, is related to Jamie Gumm from Silence of the Lambs.
Is Jamie Gumm, Matt, a fictional character in the movie?
It seemed pretty real to me when he did the tuck.
Thank you, GLers.
It became real.
There were network games in the late 40s. It looks
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This must have been.
Hello, American
I don't know what they're talking.
Maybe
about.
the Twins' first nationally televised.
Maybe
game.
that's what it
There
meant.
we go.
Maybe that's what it meant.
Put a bow all over that.
Thank
one.
you. Yeah.
bet. Hey, do me a favor if you haven't done so already. You need to join the thousands of subscribers. Yes, thousands. We're almost at 16,000 subscribers to the Garage Logic YouTube channel, where on that YouTube channel you can watch the show each and every single day starting right around noon. And you can also see full segments, video shorts, behind the scenes footage. It's all there for you. Just search for Garage Logic on YouTube. And you can search Garage Logic on all of our social media channels, which includes Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And sign up for the Daily Logician. That email, that comes right to your inbox each and every single day. And it includes the most recent episode of the podcast. Find out more and sign up right now at garagelogic.com. It's time once again that we check in with our guy, Mr. Money Talk. Josh Arnold is with us once again right here in Garage Logic. And now is the time for you to do the same. So do not delay. Do exactly what I did and pick up that phone and dial 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. When you call that number, you're going to get Josh. And he is there for you for that free, yes, I use the word free, 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation. And he will always give you the straight talk. He will never give you the sugar-coated advice. And he is on the line with us once again right here in Garage Logic. And boy, Josh, I know you got a lot to get to today because you've got updated news on the U.S. and China trade talks. Several analysts are down on Apple because of AI. Disney's buying Hulu. And you know what? You're the first to say it. Coke is still it, isn't it?
Coke is still it. We'll start with that. Coke is still it. Saw a recent study that said Coke, in addition to making you feel good, does have some additional properties relating to solving some stomach issues. How do you like that? There are an awful lot of people who like to have a Coke after a heavy meal because it enables them to digest things a little bit better. Now, we're not necessarily talking about Diet Coke or Coke Zero or Tab, but straight up, full-on sugared Coca-Cola. And that kind of cements my always-on view of having a Coke. Anytime I'm not going to say anytime you feel like it, but having a good Coca-Cola quenches your thirst, makes you feel better all around, and does put a smile to your face. Coca-Cola as a stock, compared to technology companies over the last several years, Coke is just a dull investment, up an average of 10% a year, not counting the 3% dividend. Very steady performer. Some might say it's a little expensive on a price-to-earnings basis, but then it is always traded at a premium on a PE basis. It does pay a nice dividend, and it has tended to increase the dividend very, very frequently. And I've always suggested for those people who want to invest in government bonds because of their safety, I've said, why not look at Coca-Cola? No, it is not a bond because there's no guarantee that at any point in time you're going to, when the due date comes with the bond, you're going to get your principal back. Coke is a stock. Now, you could buy Coca-Cola bonds, by the way, but I'd much prefer owning the stock. But of course, you know that I am a stock investor not a bond investor. Stocks are open-ended, bonds are closed. You do know that if you hold your bond to maturity, so long as if it's a corporate bond, the company is still in business, that you'll get your principal back. And in the meantime, you'll collect, an interest payment twice a year from individual bonds. In a bond fund, different story. Not a lot of chance in a bond fund for a lot of appreciation. You can get a nice yield from those. Not a place that I'd want to put my money. Coke, on the other hand, reasonable amount of safety, that nice dividend, and the business is not going away. Plus, the products that they offer, over 200 different products in over 200 different countries, enables you, we'll say, a lot of diversification, even with one simple investment. Coke and its medicinal properties. Well, I don't think the Secretary of Health right now is running out to buy Coca-Cola or pushing Coca-Cola, but the results are there. Now, speaking of old Dow components like Coca-Cola, there's Disney. Yesterday announced that they were buying the balance of Hulu from Comcast for $438 million. They had spent several billions buying the majority of it. They now will own the whole kit and caboodle, and that should help Disney's overall streaming platform for entertainment, not to mention their linear platform as well. So Disney is now adding several layers to their entertainment stream, and that should help Disney generate a little bit more in revenues. Stock has been moving up recently, but to me, there are still many issues around Disney. They still have much to do with ABC and ESPN. Disney also pays a small dividend. Of course, there is always going to be a little bit of hair around the name, given what could happen with their cruise lines and theme parks, and or if they have a miss on one of their movies. Next, we come to the U.S.-China trade talks that have been ongoing, and should there be some progress made towards opening more trade, there will be trades made of all kinds of products, but if, in fact, there can be some agreement on reducing some of the tariffs and reducing export controls, China wants those controls reduced to get more chips. The U.S. wants rare earth minerals. Should that happen, that would be an overall plus for the worldwide economy, be a big plus for the Chinese economy, whose economic growth has been stagnating, and be a big plus for the U.S. market across the board. I'm looking for some positive news or more positive news coming out of these trade talks. And lastly, favorite Apple started their Worldwide Developers Conference yesterday. Many people were hoping that Apple would say something extremely positive about artificial intelligence and what they're doing to catch up. Those people were disappointed because AI faded into the background. Well, plenty of software updates came to the fore. I think the software updates are going to make it a lot easier to utilize many of the applications and make a lot of more easy to use many of Apple's devices together. Their special product, we'll call it, or special facelift, is now called Liquid Glass. Going to be very interesting at that. And I do think that many analysts are down on the name. In fact, Apple doesn't have artificial intelligence on its own. Apple's form factor, the phone, hasn't been updated in many years. Apple is losing the AI rate. Most of them forget that Apple's ecosystem, with over 1.5 billion worldwide iPhone users and 2.4 billion iOS users, is pretty loyal and are willing to wait for the best products and services that Apple delivers. I remain very positive on the name while recognizing all the headwinds that Apple faces, from tariffs to President Trump's anger against Tim Cook, to the European Union's attempts to collect more money from Apple, to even the slow growth in sales of iPhones. There's tremendous growth still in services. I am still very bullish on the name.
Excellent advice, as always, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now is the time for you to pick up the phone and make the call for that free 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation. And you do that just like I did by dialing 952-925-5608, where you always get straight talk and never, ever sugar-coated advice. Josh, as always, thank you so much for the time and the chat. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Chris.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.